originally intended to include a city with 20,000 inhabitants. Epcot stands for the experimental prototype community of tomorrow and was dreamt up by Walt Disney as a showcase for a new way of living. He intended to open the city as a livable vision of the future and invite families to come and live there. Unfortunately, when Walt passed away, the idea was deemed to be too ambitious. But Imagineers paid homage to his vision by incorporating the futuristic architecture and technology into what is now the Epcot section of the park. There's a whole world beneath your feet. When Mickey, Donald, or any other cast members need a break, they can't just stroll to the park for a sandwich and a cup of coffee. That's why there's a huge network of underground tunnels that allow them to move behind the scenes. The tunnels are color-coded so cast members know where they are, but there's a fleet of golf buggies that help them navigate the huge park. These tunnels are known as utilidors, and they're also big enough for an ambulance to drive through in case of an emergency. There are other tunnels too, a hugely impressive system called an automated vacuum collection that collects all of the rubbish from the park and whooshes it along at 60 miles per hour to a processing plant where it is crushed and sent to a landfill or a recycling center. You're never more than 30 feet from a rubbish bin. Ever noticed all that rubbish overflowing around the park? Of course not, and that's because there are bins every 30 feet throughout Disney World. Additionally, certain products such as chewing gum aren't sold anywhere on Disney property. Just one of the ways to keep the whole resort looking perfect, despite the millions of visitors it attracts every year. Every American flag you see at Disney World is a fake. Considering how much the Americans worship their flag, this must have been a British person writing it. It's incredible to learn that every flag you see at Disney World has been purposefully designed with a mistake. That's right, they're all missing a stripe or a star, and technically aren't flags at all. They're pennants. And the reason for this is because of America's strict flag etiquette. There are national flag codes that are strictly adhered to throughout the 50 states, such as flying at half-mast during a time of national mourning. But Walt Disney World is a magical place where outside issues are left at the door, and the last thing guests want is to be reminded of a national tragedy. And as these aren't American flags, they're allowed to be flown at full mast every day of the year, no matter what's happening in the real world. Disney has a color called Go Away Green, and it's specifically designed to make things disappear. Wherever you go in Walt Disney World, there's plenty to see, from incredible set designs to rides, characters, shops, and restaurants. But there's plenty they don't want you to see as well, like doors for Disney World opened, smell technology was a new thing, but nowadays it's widespread. In fact, when you walk around a shopping center, many of those smells, such as fresh leather in a shoe shop or baked bread in a sandwich shop, are being pumped throughout the air vents. Mickey Mouse has around 136 outfits, which is more than Minnie Mouse. When you're expected to look your very best every day, it's important to have a large wardrobe. But for Mickey Mouse, it's not just about having a change of clothes in case of a spillage. He needs a different outfit for every zone he enters. It's no secret that Disney pays close attention to the little details, and it simply wouldn't do to have scuba diving Mickey strolling through Frontierland. That's why he has so many outfits. Disney World includes 4,000 acres of empty land. Rumor has it that Walt Disney was riding a roller coaster at Disneyland in California, and as he reached the top of a Big Dipper, he spotted the lights of a 7-Eleven on the distant horizon. That was an abomination for a man who had built a park where the outside world could be forgotten. So when plans were being drawn up for Disney World, an extra 4,000 acres were bought and now serve as eco-habitats for wildlife. The result is that there is no point in the park where it's possible to see outside of Disney World. I don't know if that's necessarily accurate. I feel like I've definitely seen some buildings from Expedition Everest or stuff like that, but oh my. You won't find a structure higher than 199 feet tall inside the park. Why not? Well, it's all linked to USA's aviation rules, which state that buildings 200 feet or taller must have flashing lights atop them to warn planes of their presence. Walt Disney felt that flashing lights would be a distraction from the magical world he was creating, so he ordered that no structure be made higher than 199 feet. Cinderella's castle is more like a fortress. It might look quaint and delicate with all its intricate towers, but don't let that deceive brings over 58 million visitors a year. That's a lot of people. In fact, Walt Disney World's annual visitor count is roughly the same as the population of Italy, and Magic Kingdom accounted for around 12 million of these visitors in 2021. This makes it the most popular holiday resort on the planet, and Magic Kingdom is the most visited amusement park by some distance. On average, 210 pairs of sunglasses are lost every day in the park. Keep hold of your belongings, folks. Walt Disney World could open a shop to rival Sunglass Hut with all the lost items handed in every day. At a rate of 210 pairs a day, they could have collected up to 1.7 million pairs of sunglasses since they opened in 1971. And that's not the only thing being handed in to lost property. Thousands of cameras, phones, and hats are also dropped by visitors. Just think of all those once-in-a-lifetime photographs that'll never find their way back to their owners. Walt Disney World is officially a city. You might be forgiven for thinking that Walt Disney World was in the city of Orlando, but it's actually a fully incorporated city of its own. It's part of the Reedy Creek Improvement District, a special taxing district which has its own authority that has the powers and responsibility of a county government. There are two cities within the district, Bay Lake and Lake Buena Vista, all of which is owned by Disney. As such, you'll see fire, police, traffic cops, and the like with all badges featuring Mickey Mouse. They're not just costumes, they're genuine departments who work for the local authority, Disney. The district does have a few full-time residents, all of whom are Disney employees. Fun fact, I think I'm right about this, but the only permanent community on the property are a tiny trailer park. And so those are the residents of Reedy Creek, and they're the ones who vote for all these improvements or changes to happen, which is kind of crazy. Perhaps it's not surprising when you consider that the resort spans 27,000 acres, which is the same as 2 Manhattan Islands. The Beatles officially split up at Disney World. It's remarkable that such a happy place could be the site of an event that sent shockwaves around the world. But it's true. John Lennon was enjoying his stay at Disney's Polynesian Village Resort when he signed the documents that would seal the dissolution of the world's most famous band. That sucks. Former presidents of the United States donate their outfits to Disney World. The Hall of Presidents features animatronics of every former leader of the United States. A meticulous attention has been paid to the little details in their costumes. Older presidents wear suits that would have been made using only materials and sewing techniques that were available at the time of their stint in power. But since Walt Disney World opened in the 70s, presidents have donated their own suits for their models to wear. So you're looking at the real deal. Walt Disney never got to visit his greatest creation. Despite being heavily involved in the creation of Walt Disney World, Walt Disney never got to see his mission come to life. Sadly, he died 5 years